Hello, it's Canrime here. In this video, we are going to be discussing walls. And specifically, the reason why I think walls are very unhealthy in today's Age of Empires 2 meta. Before we get into the big parts of this video where I go through everything in detail, I just want to start out with a rough schematic of how everything works and why I think walls are unhealthy in this meta. This is the part that I'm going to be referring people to whenever I'm like, fuck walls, and people are like, why, Karen? Why do you hate walls? So, the main issue that I have with walls is that walls disrupt how the game is supposed to flow. So, you start a game in Dark Age. The game state is naturally going to go to Feudal Age unless you decide that TC dropping your opponent is a good idea. Now, in Feudal Age, the game state hits Feudal Age when people finally have their units out and they're actively moving with any feudal aggression that they would like to use. The issue is that once feudal aggression starts getting denied by walls, is when the game state shifts to Castle Age, where Castle Age units can actually put in the effort and be able to circumvent walls in most situations. And I mean dinky little palisade walls. They are surprisingly useful, especially if you're doing shit like walling behind. If you're insistent on keeping out aggression for whatever fucking reason that you don't want to be making your own units to counter. So naturally, the game progresses to Castle Age. And in Castle Age, the game state hits Castle Age and people are booming and people are pushing the siege and knights and shit. Eventually people are going to start getting castles up. And when castles start getting put up, and there's really not much that you can do to take down a castle in Castle Age, is when the game state starts shifting into Imperial Age. When you have trebs and bombard cannons that can start actually dealing with that stuff. And the game goes on in Imp for however long it takes for people to get their gold trash siege unit compositions in, and one player will finally win over the other, depending on how long it takes. But for the transition from Castle Age to Imperial Age, it's really difficult to force the game state to go to Imp. It's a very large initial investment in Castle Age in order to force the game state to go to Imperial. My issue is that it's much more expensive to force the game state to go to Imperial while you're in Castle Age than it is to force the game state to go to Castle Age in Feudal Age. And, well, forcing the game state to go to Castle Age is going to be my code for walling for the entire rest of this video. So, say you're not convinced about, well, the entire thing about game states. So let's travel back in time a little bit to my previous video about that 1v1 against Deneb. Now, at this stage of the game, we are currently in Feudal Age, and the game state is currently in Feudal Age, but I'm at the point where I'm forcing the game state to eventually reach Castle Age. there is not very much that Deneb can do to get into my base unless I overchop, or if he techs up to Castle Age and masses siege or knights to break into my base. Now, I didn't just, wall throughout Dark Age. I built all of these walls after I'd hit Feudal Age. It was mid-Feudal before I started walling. But the principle applies still that I'm forcing the game state to go up to Castle Age by walling. And I'm patching up that hole that I left at the berries there. The issue is, and always has been, that people are setting it up so that we've already hit this game state where we're being forced to advance to Castle Age in order to do anything before we've even hit Feudal at all. Or maybe if you're executing a particularly fast Scresh build, before the game state has even reached Feudal Age. It is pretty much guaranteed that the game has to go to Castle Age, that the game state is being forced to go up to Castle Age before we've even hit Feudal Age. Now, I don't have a problem with this interpretation at its face value. The vast majority of games are going to hit Castle Age whether or not people use the wall meta to force the game state up there. No matter when people use the walls to force the game state to reach Castle Age. It's just a given that you're eventually going to reach Castle Age in a game, because it's very difficult by nature to end games in Feudal Age. So there being a Castle Age and there being walls are both still very extremely important parts of the game meta, and I don't dislike that it's nearly impossible to end a game in Feudal Age. And I don't dislike the fact that walls are a feature in the game. I'm not advocating for the removal of walls. I'm not advocating for civilizations other than Cubans to have access to tools that would allow them to end a game in Feudal Age consistently. My concern has always been that people are able to force the game state up to Castle Age before the game has even reached Feudal Age. Not even the game state in Feudal Age, the actual game itself. So where does that leave us? That leaves a massive concern for how do we fix walls so that they still retain their nature in Feudal Age, that you can still start walling up in Feudal Age and force the game state to Castle Age by building walls in Feudal Age, because if I were making the argument that I just want to force all games to end in Feudal Age, I'd also be making the argument against there being castles, so that there'd be no reason to force the game stay up to Imperial Age. And there are some 1v1s where neither of us have put up castles by the time we've hit Imp. The game state hasn't forced us to go to Imp, it's just that the game itself has. We're not being pushed towards it by this arbitrary measure that I've put in place. We're just being forced towards it more generally by factors other than the arbitrary limits that I've been putting in place. My initial thought was to make walls ridiculously expensive in Dark Age, but that ruins maps like Black Forest, where you kind of have to be fully walled in Dark Age because it's a fast castle map by nature, and I'm not going to antagonize people who like maps like Black Forest and Fortress and Arena. I don't dislike them either. I sometimes legitimately enjoy playing them. This game is not just Arabia. But this video is feedback on the wall meta affecting open maps in general. Like Arabia. Because on Arabia, I do not play the game to fast castle. But that's what most people do when they wall. They either full wall fast castle, they full wall into archers. They might at least have the nutsack to drush before they fast castle. But in the vast majority of situations that I've encountered, people are just content turtling their way up to the castle age on open maps, and that's not the point. The point of open maps is to play the game through from Dark Age up to Imperial Age, actually taking part in all of the things in between. So to not take advantage of that and to skip through and to skip past these parts of the game are things that I legitimately cannot understand why people think it's meta or why people think it's even remotely enjoyable to just turtle their way up to Castle Age on open maps. On closed maps like Hideout and Arena and Fortress and Black Forest, I get it, I understand it. That's how those maps are supposed to work. Arabia is not Arena. Arabia is not Hideout. Arabia is not Black Forest. Arabia is not Fortress. I might be repeating myself, I don't know. My concern has been, and always will be, that people are taking open maps and stomping on their main purpose. And I don't know what we can do to fix it. without ruining some of these other maps. But I think there should be a legitimate change to walling that makes walling up in Dark Age a lot more cost restrictive. Because if we can force the game state to skip straight to Castle Age when we're not even in Feudal Age yet, that's bonkers. That's broken. It's something that needs to be fixed. If we're just letting the game skip forwards, it's not going to be good. We're not going to have a game where we get to play it out. We are going to be forced into this full wall fast castle meta, or we're just going to be left in the dirt. Now, I have the utmost respect for people who do several things. First of all, I have the utmost respect for Burmese players who do things other than full wall fast castle or Rambai. I have the utmost respect for people who wait until it's less of an impact on their economy to full wall. And I have respect for people who are working their asses off to try and figure out how best to be able to punish walls without submitting to the full wall fast castle. I mean, I'm patting myself on the back here, like with the whole "you turtle I tower" thing, but it needs to be one of two things. Either walls need to not be an end-all force game state up to Castle Age, or walls need to not be easily obtainable in the early game. And if you've got suggestions, leave them in the comments, but I don't know what we could possibly do. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments if you think I'm stupid, if you think that you want more explanation than just walls bad, or really anything else that you want to tell me about this video. Thank you to Nnarol for providing this footage to me. He played this match for Small Tourneys AoE2, whose finals are being casted soon. Like, subscribe, standard YouTuber spiel, and I will see you next time.